G'day folks and welcome to another episode of The Breakdown brought to you by New Step Brewing where we're here filming today. My name is Brendan Sauce-Hotel from Queensland Rugby and joining me as always is commentary regular Jay Boss-Thornton and our special guest this week, UQ Director of Rugby, Elton Berenger. How are we, gents?
Really good. Morning, Sauce.
Living the dream, Sauce.
Alright, thanks for joining us, Elton. Obviously, there's only 6 weeks to go now until we're at the finals period. There's still a lot of clubs in contention for finals. How crucial is this next sort of run into, what is the pinnacle of club rugby here in Queensland?
Yeah, look, pretty critical for a few of us. Ourselves and Bond can't really afford to drop too many games from here. West, South, and East will sort of feel the pinch of us and Bond coming, I guess. And Jeeps and Brothers will just want to keep on their merry winning way and maintain that sort of those top two spots.
All right, well, let's jump into it. Obviously, you guys had an excellent win on the weekend, getting the better of South, 42-14. Having a look at the match, South scored a really nice try first up. Ralph Avalu linking with the Mori Wangi scored underneath the post, but then it went all your guys' way. What was your read on that game?
Yeah, look, we were probably disappointed with that first try. It was Gustav Diago got injured in sort of the hole that Ralph ran through, so we didn't panic too much. The boys knew that they sort of gone against the run of play. But mate, yeah, we just got stuck in. We knew that our set piece was going to be strong, so we just went back to what we do well. And credit to the boys, earlier in the season we might have panicked a little in that situation, but got a little bit more maturity in the team. We've had a few knocks through the season, and boys just knuckled down and went about their work.
Mate, Jay and I have spoken throughout the season about your scrum and how you guys have probably been really lacking sort of some strength in the front row. Yeah. What changed this week, mate? Because you guys had the wood over South.
Look, SJ Tamala's back, so he's been playing rugby in Belgium and he won a competition over there, and I guess some European scrum experience has certainly helped him. So SJ was pretty massive for us, and as a coaching team, we gave him the 3 points, getting that many good scrums. But bottom line, mate, we've just been working bloody hard at it, So we probably weren't where we needed to be with our scrum. We weren't putting the time and effort in that we should have been to start with, and we have been now. We're starting to sort of reap the benefits.
And Jay, watching this one, mate, who impressed you, mate, probably in that UQ backline this week?
Brad Twider was massive in attack. Defensively, he was lacking a little bit. I think Elton's a bit filthy on him about that one, but with ball in hand, he was awesome. And his partnership that he's got going there with TJ Siakasini could be really fruitful for him. I know shifting Kamala out to the wing could have been a bit dicey, putting someone who's typically a 13 in that space there. But I think it worked really well. You had the big bopper on the inside, and then that small playmaker and the light feet of Brad Twidale outside him. So I think that's a centre partnership that could really, really bear a lot of fruit for the students in the back end of the season.
And obviously, mate, after a really impressive performance against Brothers where they nearly got the win, mate, what do you reckon happened to South last week?
They switched off. Again, not an 80-minute performance. They finally had guys like Josh O'Rourke back. They were starting to build a really good squad. Looked like they were starting to actually build towards something in some form of consistency, and they've gone back several steps again. So ET, we say it every week, is going to be absolutely ropeable about that, quite rightly. But look, if they could start to go on a bit of a run again, they should be there come finals time once again.
I think, Elton, we said on the show last week, mate, potentially season defining for you guys last week as to whether or not you guys could make that push for the finals. How pleasing was it to see the boys respond, mate, and what sort of the drive for the next 6 weeks before the
look, enormously pleasing. I mean, that's crazy, but that was our first back-to-back win on the weekend before the season and our first away win. So it's nice to kind of get that monkey off the back. Look, the drive for the rest of the season, we're a proud sort of recent history and, of making finals and grand finals, etc. So players know that, players feel that pressure, we as a coaching group feel that pressure. We've got, a few players that have joined us more recently back from injury, and Alex Horan, Brad Twidale, as you mentioned, Kalala Mini across from Perth, SJ Tamala. Those guys have added a bit of starch and probably a little bit of class to the group. We're pretty confident we'll keep going.
So moving on to our second game from round 12. It was the game between Brothers and West, obviously quite a heated affair over at Old Dogs Day at Sylvan Road. Jay, the Brethren got the better here after full time, mate, 36-31. Must have been a hard pill to swallow.
It was tough. It was a great day out there. Credit to everyone out at the kennel. It was absolutely pumping all day. And this was the best game of Premier Grade footy thus far this season. Probably the best in a couple of years. It was absolutely massive. Defensively from the Doggies, it was huge. The composure shown by Brothers, I think there was 4 or 5 occasions where they went 15 plus phases. It was just such a good game of footy, and credit to Brothers. I mean, any other team would have turned to water in that situation from the defensive pressure from the Doggies, but Brothers are just so clinical, and only they could build that amount of phases that many times and pick up that try in the corner to win that game. So, look, Brothers showed their legit premiership contenders with that one today.
Yeah. They seem to be able to find ways to win in these tight matches and even cover for blokes who weren't there. Obviously, there was Tom Maloney on the weekend. He was 24th man for the Reds down in Canberra, so he wasn't in town to play. But there was a couple of West boys, Elton, that really stood out for you in this match. What did you take out of it?
Yeah, I thought Carter Gordon again sort of showed his credentials and his potential. His combination with Isaac Henry and Hunter Paisami, arguably sort of the best 10 to 13 combination running around. Liam Dillon's pretty deadly off the back of some of those scrums, particularly right field scrums. And yeah, those young Colts at the back, Cooper and I guess Callum's not a Colt anymore, but just some real class at the back as well.
And for me, looking at the match today, I think the difference in that second half was Brothers seemed to just have the wood in terms of a bit of fitness. We saw the two starting across the West come back, Mizzy and Aussie, and they performed really well throughout most of the match. But at that back end, when Brothers started to have their comeback, it looked like the boys were just sort of struggling a little bit to keep up with the pace of the game that Brothers were playing at.
It's to be expected. You're putting in almost 200 tackles in a game, you're going to be absolutely blowing. And those passages, that first passage where the Doggies held them out on their own try line was some of the best defence I've ever seen. But then the other two where eventually Seb was able to get through as well as Ruben Wall untouched. I think it just showed they were absolutely gassed, and quite rightly they were putting in an absolutely Herculean effort to make sure that they were holding them out. But you can't defend that long and not get absolutely gassed. So I think it showed more than anything a level of maturity that the Doggies don't necessarily have, that Brothers do, where they can actually hold on to pill, retain possession, and they can just grind you down for double digits phases.
Yeah, well, the result on the weekend now sees Brothers sit 9 points clear of Jeeps, with Jeeps suffering that loss to Bond, which we'll get to in a sec. It's hard to see anyone really catching the Brethren at this point as we head towards whoever's going to finish with the minor premiership.
No, not with that loss to Jeeps. You can't help but see Brothers finishing on top.
Yeah. So moving on to our third match from round 12, it was the clash between Bond and GPS down the highway. Bond got up in this one 37-26. I know Elwee was nervous heading into this one for the Jeeps boys, and so he should have been. It was a very different Bond side than played you guys a week before, mate.
Yeah, look, Harry Nusafora and Mitch Third were particularly good, as was their back row. Sort of Dylan Rowe with his running game, and Connor Pritchard, was an absolute pest at the breakdown. I imagine Elwee will be pretty filthy though, based on that result. But yeah, Bond, sort of worked out a bit that Jeeps weren't really defending the breakdown much, and managed to get some pay out of that.
Yeah, you mentioned Dirty there, mate. He had a couple of nice touches, especially setting up 2 tries. It looked like him and Nusafora together sort of unlocked the outside backs like Dan Borbin and Joey Fiddock. Who impressed you in this one, Jay?
Those two guys right there, Joey Fiddock and Dan Boardman. Dan Boardman, he never gets the raps that I think he is well and truly earned. Mitch Third is one that straightens the attack. Harry Nusafora directs all the play. Joey Fiddock finishes it all off. Ryan Menzies does all the big runs. But Dan Boardman is the one that hits the brick wall day in, day out. And he is just... it would have been good to see him go toe-to-toe with Alfonso Horomia, actually, who was coming off the bench, because they're just both so direct in how they play, and I think they would have gone just hammer and tong. But Dan Boardman, I think, is someone who should be on the radar for NRC. Yeah. Just his ability to fill that 12 and 13, both those positions really well. He's so versatile and he's just so good.
Yeah. And a couple of forwards as well, mate, really played good games. Zeki Moi Moi one of your favourites, mate.
Zaki Moi Moi. You know I love him.
And Dylan Rowe, he seems to be a really good pickup for these guys.
The Croatian international. Elton was just saying he's played 14-odd tests for Croatia, but he's been absolutely massive. And he's a good inclusion into a side that already had a pretty good back five. You know, Kieran Van Breck, Luke Ball, Callum Ball, Luke Papworth and so on. So to be able to get someone like him, he's just got a massive motor and he's partnering well with Connor Pritchard, who's more of a pest at the breakdown. I think they're going to absolutely kill it.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a few changes for Jeeps in this one, mate. Obviously, they put Alfonso on the bench. No Mitch King. They obviously still got Matt Jekyll to come back. And then Miley Nwama was on Brumby's duties down in Canberra. So it seemed like there was a little bit of rotation, but also a few guys missing for Jeeps. And probably affected, the style of play that they're trying to...
Yeah, absolutely. Look, take nothing away from Bond's win. They thoroughly deserved it. But Mitch King is probably the world's greatest pest at the breakdown, and they were definitely missing that. Matty Jekyll's not far behind. Look, I guess Jeeps have got that ability and that the luxury to be able to rotate a few players in and out. The rest of the comp, we won't be getting too excited that they're off the boil or anything like that with some of those names you mentioned coming back.
Yeah, no, I'm sure the boys would have got flogged at training this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on to the fourth and final game for round 12, it was the match of the round between Sunnybank and Norths. Sunnybank got up in a narrow affair, 32-31. Jay, mate, looking at the match footage from this one, mate, what was your take out of the game in terms of how it played out?
It was pretty scrappy, but that tends to happen when you've got two teams that are just so desperate for a win. They tend to really do anything for that win, so they'll bash people in breakdowns. They'll do everything they can with ball in hand to try and just make sure they retain possession and stuff like that. So it was a scrappy affair, but it was actually a pretty entertaining game because you saw guys like Nick Chapman absolutely lit it up. I think he got 17 points in the first 15-odd minutes. But then you saw like David Feo was back as well. So at scrum time, he was absolutely chopping up for Sunnybank. So I think Norths should feel pretty unlucky they didn't come away with that. They were playing a really good brand of footy and they really looked like they were trying to get that W. And whereas Sunnybank took a while to fire and then were just a bit more opportunistic. They were a bit better at taking their opportunities and a bit more clinical than Norths. So, look, tough game of footy, but it sucks for Norths seeing as they went down by a single point in a game they probably should have won.
Yeah, being there and watching live, like it felt like Norths were trying so hard to, keep their lead and maintain a level of, ascendancy in that game. And, they held that for most of it. Sunnybank had a really slow first half. I dare say they were probably struggling to bounce back after that game against West, which was probably a bit of a tough affair for them. But I think what is good to see from Sunnybank is that they responded well in that second half and came back. I think it was from like a 31-14 or 17 deficit, something like that, to actually win the game. So, credit where credit is due. It was good to see the Sunnybank win, but one key guy that came back for them and changed the match a little bit, former Leicester Tiger, David Feo. Elton, to have a player of that calibre come back in and strengthen up the front row, mate, you would have had experience like that last year, a bit in a similar experience with Tommy Court. What effect can that have on a team?
Oh, it's massive. I mean, his, obviously his scrumming ability and his ability to cause sort of dominance around that area of the game is massive, but just I imagine he would have been pretty calm, cool and collected, when he'd been playing professional rugby in Europe. That would have been huge for them. I thought Tommy Lucas coming on made a big difference for them as well at the end there, So one cool head went off, another cool head came on, and I think that made a big difference for them getting across the line.
Yeah, well, Tommy unfortunately couldn't feature in the starting lineup because he had an engineering exam.
Right, okay. That's pretty blessed, is he?
Yeah, that time of year. Another guy that played for Sunnybank, guy that we've seen play plenty of sevens, in a Bond jersey actually, Josh Walker. He's had a knee injury and then I think another sort of injury that held him back. But he was the one to come on and score that match-winning try. What did he make of his sort of first appearance in that Chrome Grey jersey, mate?
Mate, pretty bloody good actually. So you can see he's definitely got some talent there. I think if you can put him on the end of a firing Sunnybank backline, he could do some serious damage in the next 6 weeks. But, I think that was more actually just an amalgamation of how the game was going, it sort of came from nothing. They sort of sung it out wide. He danced outside, and it just sort of fell into the lap of Sunnybank. I mean, credit to him. He had to obviously do the work to get out there, but I think it was just one of those things where he just saw the space outside, decided to gas it, and Norths didn't read the play. But I think he'll be an absolute star signing for him this year, for the rest of the season, and potentially next.
Well, I think overall, 2 wins in a row for the Bank. It was Ladies' Day down there, a Woodstock theme. They had like 3-legged races at half time, which was something different. But, I think the atmosphere was good. It seems like there's some positive, some positive feeling down there at Sunnybank, which was good to see after what has been a tough season. All right, so let's look forward to round 13 this coming weekend. There's a couple of key matches with a number of sides vying for final spots, going toe-to-toe. The first game, East v Bond. East have challenged for the Bunter Bowl. Eldon, where do you see this match landing?
Look, I think Bond have certainly discovered form at the right time of the year. East will want to make sure they combat sort of being a bit sleepy post-bye, which can tend to happen to teams. So I'm going to go and be pretty unpopular in Cooperoo and say I think Bond will get up.
Jay, what are your thoughts on this one, mate?
Agreed. I reckon Bond starting to find a bit of form. Unlucky not to get the W against Brothers a few weeks ago, and then they didn't show up against you fellas. But they're showing that they've got a bit of fire in the belly. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go up there and just surprise East, as you said, Elton, just coming off the bye as well as that loss against Chiefs a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I'm one-eyed up the bloody Tigers. All right, Jeeps v Souths. This one could be very interesting. I know, obviously, with Samu heading overseas, he's pretty keen to get a game in for Souths before he's stuck in with Wallabies duties. And this could potentially be it. I haven't seen team list yet. I'm not sure what's happening. But, Eldon, if Samu, potentially Chrissy Sortia, Luke Arm were to line up for the Magpies, that potentially changes this match.
Yeah, that'd bring a fair bit of X factor. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that would be Samu's South's debut against his old team as well. So that'd be pretty massive. I will say though, I imagine LV's had the whip out this week, so I think Jeeps will leave nothing to chance this week. I reckon they'll be ready to rock and roll. I would say, despite any Wallaby inclusions, I still think Jeeps will get the chocolates.
And Jay, mate, obviously, take out whether there's rep players or not playing. There's a bit of feeling between these two sides where players have a move between clubs, coaching staff as well. This should be a really interesting affair with a lot of feeling, and I'm sure the Glue Factory will be vocal.
Well, the Glue Factory is going to be losing it as per usual, but as you said, take the whole game out of it. There's so much riding on it just by way of personal relationships. We've seen some players go over, coaches move, and all that sort of stuff. So this one's going to have a lot of feeling, but I think Jeeps are going to absolutely poleaxe South. They're not going to go for 2 losses in a row.
Yeah. And then we've got the second battle of the North for 2019, Norths v Brothers. Obviously, 2 teams at opposite ends of the ladder. How do we see this one playing out, gents?
Look, Norths will have to play out of their skins and have a bit of luck on top of that. I know Ox will have the boys absolutely primed, but I reckon Brothers will get up. They're just pretty good from 1 to 15.
Agreed. Brothers will smash it.
Yeah, I mean, if Duncan rolls out the Norths one last game, that could potentially be interesting in terms of how the back line plays, but I don't see that Eagles forward pack matching it with Brothers for the full 80. All right, well, moving on to our final game, the match of the round, UQ v West, Elton, BJ. Where do we see this one going, Elton? We'll go to you first, mate.
Well, look, I mean, straight after that, the pummeling that West gave us the last time around, we said to the boys, we'll make sure you go have a beer with the opposite number and remember this feeling. So the boys did, and we had a few beers. They tasted pretty damn sour that day. But look, we'll have to play well. That's the bottom line. I mean, West showed on the weekend. The defence was outstanding. They made more than 200 tackles against us the last time we played them. Jeremiah, Connor, Anderson, LD, they were all outstanding. So look, we'll have to play well, but with some of the late inclusions that we've got, I reckon we'll get the chocolates.
All right, and Jay, mate, I know 2 wins over UQ, mate, is not something that ever happens sort of too often in a year, mate. What would that mean for West to be able to get the rubber of the green in that West Side Derby twice in 2019?
It'd be massive. It would be massive. On a personal sense, it'd be awesome to be able to see that down at the kennel, just because it's something, as you said, that doesn't happen too often. But in regards to the layout for the rest of the season, this is one that the Doggies don't want to drop. They should be getting some good players back, Joe Cotton and stuff like that from the under-20s, Mo and Filippo probably, but they want to make sure that it starts now. They don't want to have such a great game against brothers and then drop one to your closest rival.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing that can really suck the air out of the season for you. And if that does happen, it could be something that really actually hamstrings them to the extent that knocks their confidence going into the back end of the season. So this is somewhat do or die for the Doggies, because you don't want to be the ones that have to try and fight your way back with 5 rounds to go.
Yeah.
All right, folks, so that's it for this week's episode of The Breakdown. As always, thanks for joining me, Jay and Elton.
Thanks, Sauce. Thanks for having me. Jay, loser buys the beers on the weekend, right?
Whatever helps you sleep at night, Elton. You love it, Sauce.
All right, round 13 is sure to be an absolute belter. There is a number of great games on offer, so make sure you get out in Clubland this weekend and soak it up. In the meantime, keep an eye on the Queensland Premier Rugby Facebook page for more updates. And if you can't get to a game on the weekend, we've got you covered with all 4 games streamed live and free via redsrugby.com.au.